How's it going? It's that time of week again. It's the weekly review. We are officially 1 week into the season. I am Jackson. I am here with Bill.
How you doing, Jackson? It's weekly review time, my friend.
We're back.
The top fan stats guy and the 8-0 fan of Bill are here. Jackson, I had to say that just, because, right?
Just hand them the banner. They can hang it next to the 2023 Rays World Champions banner for winning 13 in a row to start the season.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm not necessarily, counting the ring ceremony and, booking tickets to the parade just yet, but it does get a little interesting, right?
It does. I
Right.
was just I was just poking fun at you.
I'm glad you were. I deserve it. I was teasing you because we took, but we'll get to that in a second. Jackson, let's just dive right into this thing.
All right.
What
I'm
do you
I'm
got for number one?
I'm gonna get out of the way. Braves are still winless. They're 0-7. Uh, it's a combination of bad luck and just playing bad baseball, stranding a lot of guys in scoring position. The bad luck. If go back and watch the whole Padres series, if you watch every inning, it's like the curse in Major League. It's like you need Jobu, give Jobu his cigar and rum to break the curse because man, it just seemed like every bounce with the Padres way, every ball that the Braves scorched was right at someone. But that's baseball. We're 7 games in. Look, it might sound like a homer race, but don't slam the panic button yet. Everyone's saying, they're gonna miss the playoffs, this or that. This doesn't help the playoff chances, but like there's an extra wild card. There's a reason why 0-17 didn't used to make the playoffs. You used to have to win the American League or National League. And then they added, one extra team. And then in the wild card, it was 4 teams. And then just recently it's been 5 or 6 teams. So this is recoverable. There's 55 games left. Let's just relax. No need to doom yet. Nobody's out of the playoff race yet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Jackson, you're 2000% right. If you were, 50 games into this and you were 20 and 30, then
Oh
I would
yeah,
say, okay, now we've got because now we see that.
slam that panic button. Yeah,
Yeah, now we see where things are shaping up at. Now we see what wild cards are going to look like at 7 games in. I mean, you're playing Philly and Washington. I'm sorry, you're playing the Cubs and I can't remember who your other team is that you're playing this.
they start at home against Miami this weekend, and then they'll play Philadelphia, but then they go
Philadelphia.
back. I think they play Washington. But
Yeah,
the schedule is certainly a lot softer than having to play in San Diego and LA to start the season. So, and there's nowhere to go but up.
yeah. And the way that I look at it is it still rings true. Win series, right? So if you can win both of those series, take 2 out of 3, then you go 4-2, right? And so now you're 4-9. That's not a big deal. You win a couple more series, you go 4-2 again, 4-2 again. Before you know it, you're 500. You're not.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate you guys winning 7 in a row. Lose 7 in a row, then win 7 in a row. But I don't know. Baseball's a weird
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah. And like if the Braves were 31 and 20 when they started this and they lost 7 in a row in like May,
Yeah,
people would be like, "Well, wow," but nobody would be like, "Season's over."
yeah, yeah. I listen.
That
I'm
that,
hearing a
that goes
lot
for
of that.
that goes for every team though. You know?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that from people, anyways. And so, I mean, I've talked to a bunch of Braves fans recently, and yeah, I there's a lot of that. So,
Yeah. Everyone relax. We're 1 week into the season. If they still stink in like 3 weeks, I'll give it to you. But I doubt that. Yeah.
yeah. Now, if you go 0-20, I might say, okay, maybe press the panic button just because that's really hard to get back even, right? You got to put some winning streaks
I mean,
together.
if you
But
go 0-20, that's like Baltimore Orioles record breaking bad. Like that team was
yeah,
really bad.
it was, it was, it was. I think they lost 21, their first 21 games.
Their first 21 games. I don't think that record's ever going to be beat though.
Let's hope not. Let's
I
hope
hope
not.
not.
Okay, so I'm going to get it out of the way too. The Dodgers are 8-0. They play Philly in Washington. They've got a little East Coast swing here for the next 6. Jackson, a couple of things that I recognized about the Dodgers is their pitching right now is on point. This is their first real road trip. Their first road trip was against the Cubs in Tokyo, so I don't count that as a road trip.
Yeah.
Um, Their first road trip is of the season is now East Coast swing. A couple things that I noticed: the pitching's really good, and they have the feel like the Angels of '02. No lead is safe against them. Now, the difference between the Angels in '02 and the Dodgers is the Angels in '02 were just young and scrappy. The Dodgers, you probably have three, maybe the makings of four potential Hall of Famers in that lineup. I'm going to say Shohei's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. I think Mookie and Freddie are putting together resumes to go to the Hall, and I think if Will Smith stays on track, he's going to head that direction. But
Catchers are never sure, so
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
your catcher's knees could fall off tomorrow, and it's
Yeah.
kind of good. So
Will Smith is never going to get the attention that he would normally get, though, because nobody's saying Will Smith and the Dodgers are coming to town. They're saying Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, whatever, right? And so Will Smith could hit a solid 280 with 20 home runs and 95 RBIs, which is great for a catcher, and nobody's going to notice.
yeah,
So now, if he was on the Twins, the Royals, the Astros, someplace like that, where that would be a big deal, and yes, but when you have Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie batting in front of you, yeah, not so much. So that's let's just get it out of the way. Jackson, what did you see? I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. What did you see in the Braves Dodgers series?
I thought the Dodgers pitching was good. I thought they pitched themselves out of trouble a lot. They did put a lot of runners on. Uh, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You see, good pitchers pitch better with runners on base. As weird as that sounds, all Reynaldo Lopez last year had a sub 2 ERA. You look at the advanced, it defies advanced analytics because once a runner got on second base, they hit like 100 against him.
Yeah,
Some pitchers are just good at that. You'll see it with guys like Zach Wheeler. It's the same way. They're better when runners are on base, even though like nobody ever reaches base. It's weird. Um, but I thought the Dodgers pitched really well. To open the week, they really kind of held the Tigers in check. I think the big thing is going to be how consistent is the starting rotation going to be. Um, I think the Dodgers' only question marks are probably which Blake Snell did you get, and is Roki Sasaki ready to have a full time rotation spot? But
correct.
other but other than that, I think their start is about as expected. With all the expectations they have.
Well, the other thing that I'm going to say too that is positive for people in the Dodger fandom or Dodger Nation or whatever we call it these days, um, is we beat two very good pitchers. We beat Chris Sale and we beat um, Tariq Skubal to start the season. So we beat two very good pitchers.
Yeah, it's certainly a positive.
Yep.
I think I was going to do something else for my number two. I'll transition into it. And funnily enough, the Dodgers are 8-0, but they're only half a game up because the Padres have started 7-0, 4-game sweep against the Braves, and they just swept Cleveland, which also surprising. Padres look really good. They executed when they need to. They look like they're playing small ball. As a Braves fan, it seemed like every hit fell their way, but the plate approach checks out. They were just trying to put the ball in play with runners on and find holes. You know, And when you have a good approach like that and the luck falls your way, it stops. It's a little less lucky. You're just kind of like, dang. You're like, dang, you know.
When the luck falls your way, it's a little less lucky. Awesome sentence, Jackson.
With certain plate approaches, I think the Padres have a really interesting
Yeah.
lineup that can match up with anyone in the National League. Their pitching looked really good. Their bullpen's really good. And I think, signing Jackson Merrill to an extension I think the Padres are buying into their strong start. I think they're here to stay for several years. I think, even just the core of Tatis and Merrill's probably pretty good because Merrill's probably been their best hitter over the last year and a half. So,
Mhm. Yeah. They them starting good. They play the Cubs and the A's on this road trip that they have. And it's going to be interesting to see how well the Cubs play them, how strong the Cubs play them. Because the Cubs are one of those teams that you just can't quite figure out right now, right? Are they good? Are they not good? Are they mediocre? Are they awesome? Are they what are the Cubs?
all I know is Cubs games involve 10 plus runs. So you'll
Yeah,
probably be pretty entertained watching the Cubs play.
Yes, 18 and 10 runs that he scored in the desert. I think it was back-to-back games too. That was pretty
Yeah, and
impressive.
then they 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 rocked the A's in the. I'll get to that in a minute though.
Yeah, yeah. But to your point, my number two, you mentioned Jackson Merrill. My number two is going to be young contracts. A couple of seasons ago, Jackson, you and I had talked about all the money that was spent in the offseason. And can owners continually spend like this? And what's going to be the new trajectory? Is it going to be like offseason where several billion dollars are doled out in contracts? Or is it going to be, hey, we at some point we got to build up the farm system? We saw this last season with the Detroit Tigers with Colt Keith. This season we're seeing it with Campbell and we're seeing it with Campbell and uh, Jackson Merrill and a few others, right? Where ownership is saying, hey, you guys are young guys. We want to lock you up now so we don't have to worry about your rookie contract and then you being awesome and us having to chase you down for two, three, $400 million. I actually like this approach by ownership. I think this is a very wise approach. And in the case of Campbell, the day that he got his contract, he hit two doubles. And I was on with a Red Sox fan at the time, and he says, this is the kid that we think he's going to be. Jackson Merrill is going to be a household name. I would not be surprised to see him on the cover of MLB The Show at some point soon. I wouldn't be surprised if he's an all-star, a number of things that Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole advantage to extensions, you get your 6 years of control or whatever. Even just handing out a 9-year contract, if you do it early enough and you get the production you want, you get the 3 4 years, and it's advantageous for the player. They still go to free agency around the age of 30, which is when all the big contracts are doled out. We've seen it time and time again that 30-year-old players still make a lot of money, but
Mm-hmm.
it sets it up, and it allows you to set your roster in advance. You don't have to worry about arbitration. You don't have to worry about
Yeah.
Super Two status. For the real you know for those of you who understand what Super Two is, basically, if a player is good enough their first 2 years, they just skip straight to arbitration. They get to skip a contract renewal year. So it removes a lot of the contract headache for a team, and it allows them to budget better. And I think, with certain prospects who you project will be good, even if you get 6 out of good 9 seasons for Jackson Merrill, it's a bargain of a contract because you made sure he was on your team that whole time. And it also makes him a valuable trade asset down the road. So I think that this trend is certainly something we're probably going to see continue, especially as salaries get bigger. We'll see what the collective bargaining agreement brings when it resets, if it's going to change how the league, the league minimum works and all that, and how many arbitration years. But if it stays, I think if the arbitration years stay where they're at or they get less of them, you're definitely going to see these extensions start to fly out a lot earlier from teams who really want to hold on to their young talent, because that's how you got to build in the MLB.
That's exactly. I mean, obviously, you've got to build. You got to build three-prong, right? You got to build your farm system first and foremost. You have to build your farm system because you have to have either prospects to trade or prospects to come up. Number two, you have to retain what you have, which is what what these ownership groups are doing with Jackson Merrill, like what you had just said. And then number three, you have to be able to recruit talent. The Dodgers recruited Shohei, the Mets recruited Juan Soto. You got to be able to recruit those people, but those conversations don't go anywhere. If so, for example, Juan Soto met with all 30 teams in the offseason. Does anybody, and no disrespect to this team, does anybody think that Juan Soto was going to sign with either the A's that don't have a home for the next couple of years, and or the White Sox are in a massive rebuild year?
No, it's not likely. And you're right. It stems from, if you build up, even if your farm system's not full of household prospect names, just having a farm system that has a reputation of pumping out players. You see it. Houston does it. Atlanta does it. There are teams out there that don't often hold top prospects, and guys come up and they perform. Just having stuff like that guys know that as long as they play there, they're going to get reinforcements at some point. To help playoff pushes. It's a big boost. So building around these prospects on these long term, but like value contracts because I know they backload them, and at the end they're paying roughly the amount you you would have paid the guy in free agency to start. Um, but it really helps team building, and I think a lot of people underestimate how hard it is to be a general manager of a sports franchise and manage all the money.
100%. 100%. I agree. I agree. So Jackson, you led me into my number two. What are you doing for number three?
Number three, you know, we could talk about how building that core works, and maybe a negative of building that core and promising certain guys long-term positions. I'm going to talk about Rafael Devers and his start to the season for the Red Sox. Devers got a massive extension from Boston. It was like a season and a half ago, and Devers has been good. He has a career 852 OPS. He's hit 30 home runs a year every year for the past 5 years. And this year they slid him to full-time DH so Alex Bregman can play third base, which I agree with. It helps their overall defense. It makes their team better. And he started the season horribly, Bill. you know, uh, as of right now, looking at his stat sheet, he's 2 for 27 with 16 strikeouts. Not ideal from a guy who makes $30 million a year. And he has made public comments about how he likes to play in the field. But I think there is that sort of thing. If you're a good player and you play on a team that has World Series aspirations, sometimes you got to bite the bullet, man. You're not the best defensive third baseman on the team. It helps your team win. Just show up and put all your effort into hitting. Do what you can to help your team win. And I guess this is the only negative of locking up your guys long term, that sometimes it causes these log jams. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the Red Sox approach this moving forward. Devers is only 28. And if it becomes kind of a dispute thing where if he, maybe gets lazy, doesn't work as hard, or, keeps clashing with management, how they're going to approach it. And I know we're only 7 games in, but it certainly seems like a problem because it was a problem all spring training.
So there are people that rise to the occasion and people that don't. And I don't know Rafi, and I don't know this Logan O'Hoppe, who I'm going to mention your point. You have guys that look at it and say, "I got competition. I'm going to show you why I'm better than that guy." That's how you got to the MLB, anyways. Just a little bit of flash and dash, a lot of talent, and just this side of cocky, right? And so,
Yeah,
uh,
there's a fine line between being overconfident and cocky and
yep,
actually being good and cocky.
yes. And so Rafi kind of had his cake and was eating it too, because there was no real challenge to his position or no real challenge to him. Well, the Red Sox go out and sign Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman has kept his mouth shut and has done his job and is doing well at his job. Rafi, on the other hand, is showing his cards. It's not Rafi Devers and the Red Sox. It's the Red Sox with Rafi Devers with Alex Bregman. The Angels did the same thing with your guy Travis d'Arnaud and brought in a catcher that is still very very capable of catching 140 games a season, 150 games a season, and yet he's the backup catcher to Logan O'Hoppe, and Logan O'Hoppe is produced from a offensive standpoint to start the season. Logan realized, hey, if I start out at 158, a batting average of 158, I'm gonna be riding the pine. Travis d'Arnaud's gonna be playing. So, I mean, you bring up a good point, Jackson. You bring up a really, really good point.
Yeah, I think that's something to watch going forward in the season. Being the Red Sox are probably the American League favorite as of right now.
Hmm.
That uh, I think Devers should uh, just hit home runs, man.
Yeah,
Just go hit 40 bombs.
you make it sound like it's so easy. Just go ahead and hit a home run. Just go ahead.
For him, it seems like it. He's got all the talent in the world. He's a very talented player. I don't know. It's
Just
just
go ahead
that
and hit bombs.
yeah,
Just go ahead
the
and hit
early
bombs.
season drama in Boston. I'm just like, go hit bombs, man.
Just go ahead and
You
hit 50 bombs, would you?
you extended your top prospect. Extended your ace, Garrett Crochet. Just go hit bombs, man. Have fun.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, before we get into the number three aspect, Jackson, I got to remind everybody. First of all, I want to thank Bleacher Brothers Radio Network for putting us on. If you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate that. Make sure you hit the mash button, subscribe that to that YouTube channel. Um, Great things are happening. We have a lot of fun announcements coming. But that being said, one of the things that we announced a couple of weeks ago was the 27 ounce club. The 27 ounce club is a box breaking club. If you are a fan of baseball cards and you don't want to buy an entire box and spend $150, $200, but you want your team, you can guarantee your team in this club for $27 a month. Here's how it works. You're guaranteed your team as long as they haven't been taken yet. You pay your $27, and let's say it was the Braves, you would have the Braves, Jackson, and two of the club breaks that month. And then you also get a $5 coupon for the month. And then we put it what they call on hold status. So then we ship them out once a month to you or with other orders. So in essence, you're getting free shipping, you're getting guaranteed your club, you're getting a $5 access. But then what you get is you get 24-hour early access to any other box break that we do. So we just announced yesterday to our box breaking or to our 27 ounce club that we're breaking another box with Heads Up Sports Cards out of Boston. Well, 13 teams are already gone. So when it actually drops today at noon, people want those teams they can't. And so, you already have your 13 guys. And so it's a lot of fun. If you are interested in cards, save yourself some money by doing that. So that's the
Yeah,
27 ounce club right there for you.
get first pick.
First pick.
No brainer to
Okay.
me.
Okay. My number three, Jackson, is going to be fun for us to talk about. I'm curious to see what you think. As of Thursday morning, so as of yesterday morning, before play started, the Chicago White Stockings were in first place in their division with a 2-4 record. They were tied for first with the Guardians with a 2-4 record, with the Kansas City Royals with a 2-4 record, with the Minnesota Twins, who also had a 2-4 record. All five teams in that division had a 2-4 record. Um, I thought that was funny, but it was also telling because and again, it's a very small sample size, it's 6 games, right? But it tells us that, and the Detroit Tigers were 2-4. It tells us that maybe that division is going to be exactly what we think it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be a division where you can win it with 83 or 84 wins. What say you, Jackson?
I thought, they all looked pretty overmatched early this week in
Yeah.
most of their matchups. I just think the Twins are just a huge question mark with health. The Tigers bullpen variability because they throw so many. Kansas City, it's can they do what they did last year? The White Sox have nothing to play for, so that's always a scary thought. Having a team like that, you're just a team that has zero expectation, and then the Guardians seem like they're the ones with all the expectations.
Mhm.
So, um, I agree with you. I think the AL Central is going to be a race to the bottom, perhaps. Um, but I think we'll see one team maybe find some form. I do think it's going to be Cleveland. I do think Kansas City is good enough to be a wild card team, but I don't see any of those teams, lighting the league up or getting the best record in the American League. 6 games, 6 games, small sample size, but I had that vibe kind of towards the beginning of the year. But I would still watch out. I think the Guardians and the Royals are two definite dangerous teams in the AL. I don't think they're going to win 100 games or anything, but
So I know you just absolutely love the Tigers and think the Tigers are going to win
look,
170 games out of 162. But I watched them play my Dodgers, and they were a team that just kept coming. The Dodgers would throw a knockout punch, and the Tigers would say, "Nah, hold my Gatorade. We're gonna fight back." They have a lot of fight in them, and I don't know if that was because they were playing up, because they were playing the defending champions in LA. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I do know that they had a lot of fight to them. So I'm curious to see how that fight goes. They did go to Seattle. They did get 2 out of 3 in Seattle.
I
So
think we'll
good.
see a lot of. I think we'll see a lot of that this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
I'm not high on the Mariners, but
Yeah. I mean, the AL West is not a pretty picture either. So, yeah.
no.
Yeah. So that's my number three, Jackson. The AL Central, it was interesting to me. I still call it Twitter. I posted all over Twitter about it.
It's Twitter. The X is the dumbest name ever. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's Twitter.
What what are you supposed to say instead of retweet? I re-X'd it?
I X'd it.
Yeah,
That sounds weird.
it
It sounds
does.
like you're
It
saying
did.
axed, but with a really thick Southern accent. I X'd it.
Next. All right, Jackson, what you got for number four?
Number four, let's talk about Aaron Judge and the start to his season. Aaron Judge, it took him a while to get going. I think it took him 28 games last year to hit 5 home runs. Bill, he's got 5 home runs, 15 RBIs in the first 6 games of the season. Uh, I think we're going to see a, a really crazy season from Aaron Judge here. Lined up pending. I think if the Yankees lineup can give him, they don't need to be giving him the help he's been getting to start the season. Belting like 4 or 5 home runs a game. But if these hitters can show that they're above average throughout the course of a whole season, I think Aaron Judge will hit 60 home runs because you cannot pitch around a guy who has guys around him that can hit.
So, so who are you thinking is going to protect him? I mean, I agree with this, but who do you think is going to protect him?
I think you're going to see Jazz Chisholm really kind of take off in New York this year. Yeah, I think it's crazy. As long as he can stay healthy, I think he's a 35 home run guy in Yankee Stadium. It plays to him. He likes the bright lights. I think the Yankees have really kind of found something to start this year. Chisholm looks good. Volpe has a bit of a power surge. Aaron Judge, scorching hot. They just need somebody behind him to not be the hole that it was last year without Stanton there.
Okay. Well, let me
I,
ask you this.
I think it's that simple though, because the Yankees are good enough that they'll play enough close games that you know you got to just eliminate the situations so you can pitch around Aaron Judge.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I'm looking at his stats right now, and as a career, so first of all, you're absolutely right. He's got 10 hits, five home runs. He's batting a mere 417 right now.
Ah,
I mean,
chump
so I mean,
chump
I guess
change.
he's doing okay. I don't know why he's not batting 418, but we'll take 470.
Why is he not 10 for 10 with 10 home runs? Okay, well,
So he's got this season plus he's got six more seasons in New York. Currently, he has 1,036 hits. He also has 320 home runs. Is it conceivable? And I'm going to say in the next, we'll call it seven because this season's barely getting started. In the next 7 seasons, that this guy could hit another 300 bombs, put him up over 600, and get another 1,200 to 1,500 hits and put him about 2,500 hits.
I think so. I think if Judge even has, an output similar to his rookie season, where, he hit 52 home runs, if he does that for the next 3 seasons, he's probably pretty much got himself to Cooperstown.
Now, his contract ends at age 39. Is there a possibility? I mean, if he extends an extension, is there a possibility that we can talk about him chasing Bonds, or do you think he's just too far?
I think with how baseball's developed in the chase for velocity, I think gone are the days. I think Aaron Judge will be good. And I think the last year or two of his contract, he might struggle a bit because once you start losing that bat speed, it's kind of over with all the specialized arms that throw 97 to 99 miles an hour with the extension and the movement they have. It just becomes really hard to hit. And it'll be interesting to see if Judge, can stay healthy enough. But I think if he stays healthy, he's a Hall of Famer. Like you said, he's got, you know, 1,036 hits, 320 of them are home runs. That's ridiculous. And a thousand and
30%.
320 home runs, and he's at like 1,000 games right now. That's really good. So I think he'll hit like 500, 600 home runs. I don't think he has a shot at Bonds just because he got started too early. If he had started what he did, like he did his rookie year at the age of 22 or 23, my answer might change.
Mhm. Yeah, it just all depends. I think you're right. Him to hit 600, I think we'll see 600. Do I think that he passes Mays at 660? Very,
Uh,
very possibly, but it depends on if he can front load it the next 3 seasons where he can hit 50 plus the
yeah,
next
like
three
see,
seasons.
if he hits like 50 as much as he did last season, 58 or more this year and the next year, you know, there he is. He's at like 500.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. So, good call on Aaron Judge to start. I'm going to also talk about an individual uh, that is desperately needed with the club that he's on now, and that's King Tuck. Kyle Tucker is now obviously a Cub. He's got 12 hits already for the season. He's performing very well for the Cubs. He had mentioned the Cubs, just going crazy with their scoring, but he is he's very, very good. And he needs to lead that team with Dansby Swanson. He needs to be able with the loss of Cody Bellinger for that club. He needs to be the guy that steps up and is consistently hitting because Dansby hasn't been consistently hitting in a Cubs uniform just yet. And I don't know what it's going to take to get him there. Right, I haven't had a conversation with Dansby. Every time he calls me, I have to send him a voicemail because I'm busy. But honestly, uh, the Cubs need him to really produce well. And so, have you been paying much attention to King Tuck?
yeah, I think this is the expected outcome, isn't it? Contract year for a guy looking for a lot of money. Uh, I think Kyle Tucker is going to put up some massive numbers. I think he's got this weird with his speed. He sounds like it sounds weird to say a sneaky 40-40 candidate, but if he just wanted this summer to go crazy and try to steal 40 bases, he probably could. He's definitely capable. It'll be interesting to see how moving forward he can carry that Cubs lineup. You mentioned Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson's a very streaky hitter. Let me tell you, as a Braves fan, either he's the best, you're like, this guy's the best, or you're like, man, this guy cannot lay off the outside slider.
You can't
Like,
do.
like
I,
Dansby, it's like it started 3 feet off the plate, man. Like, come on. Uh, but like I think the Cubs are going to need to kind of just ride the Kyle Tucker contract here if they want success this year. Now, they have a lot of other issues on the team, namely that bullpen. You mentioned out in Arizona, there was a couple of shootouts. There was a game where their bullpen imploded. I think it's going to be interesting to see how much the offense can keep it up moving forward. Because if Kyle Tucker hits really well, Seiya Suzuki's, is off to a hot start as well. If the Cubs big boppers keep hitting and all have really good years, I think the Cubs can do something. But if they get stuck in these close games, that's the last thing you want with a bullpen like theirs is to play every game close.
yeah, I would agree with that assessment, and it's kind of um, I liked this move for the Cubs. I don't like what they gave up for him. I mean, Cam Smith's going to be really, really good. There's a lot of players that are going to be really, really good. But yeah, I just they really need King Tuck to jump off the hook, right?
Yeah.
So all right, Mr. Jackson, before we get into honorable mentions, we got to get to our number fives. Jackson, what do you got for number five?
Number five, let's talk about those Athletics. They just got swept by the Cubs. The Cubs put up some runs in that minor league ballpark. So now their attendance has already dropped under 10,000. The ballpark's capacity is 14,000. I think they've already lost the fan base. That was certainly quick. All the optimism has disappeared, but I wrote about it in my breakout picks article that I think, a guy like Lawrence Butler can have a monster season in Sacramento, and it's kind of looking like that. The Cubs just homered the Athletics to death. in that 3 game set. They hit so many home runs, and I think we're going to see come summertime, Sacramento gets very, very hot, which usually means the baseballs fly a little bit further. And with those short walls and left and right, short in the sense that they're only like 6 feet tall, and short as in it's like I think it's 325 to right and only 345 to left. I think we're going to see Oakland, not Oakland, the stadium in Sacramento turn into a launch pad where we're going to see a lot of really crooked score lines, which is weird because we're used to the athletics, playing at the Coliseum where you hit a fly ball and it takes 15 minutes to find it because, the outfield's the size of Montana.
Well, it's a football stadium. It was a football stadium. Come on now.
I
So
know. It's just weird to see it, being so used to the Coliseum, the A's, it's like, oh, that ball's going to die now. It's going to be, oh, geez, another home run.
yeah, yeah. It is it Oakland. I don't think they're going to be as bad as everybody thinks they're going to be. But I do think that
I
they're not
hope.
going to be awesome. I also don't think the Angels have started off hot. I don't know that they're going to stay up at the top of the leaderboard there.
The AL West is weird because it feels like it can flip many different ways.
It does.
I could see every team in that division making the playoffs in the scenario where I'm like, that's very probable of happening. But I just thought the A's new stadium, don't like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, who does? I mean, the same thing with Tampa, right? I had a conversation with the Tampa Bay Rays fan earlier, and we were joking about this and just saying, hey, like, how does this play itself out? Right? I mean, literally, how does this play itself out?
It's
Where,
not at least Tampa Stadium got wrecked by a hurricane. The
yes,
A's ownership group chose to do this.
that's very, very
I
true.
don't think the Rays wanted to play at Steinbrenner Field. I think they would have preferred to play in the Trop.
But the problem, yeah. So Jackson, you're gonna like my number five. Okay. I'm gonna talk about the rise and the fall, and I'm gonna emphasize the fall of how bad the Braves are gonna be for the next days. No, I'm teasing.
I was
Jackson,
going to say,
oh,
insert the clickable link here on the YouTube video, the Chop House Chatter video, and then I don't have to talk.
there you go.
Just
There
go
you
see what
go.
Thomas and I said about that.
Okay, so here's three names. One of them is kind of a household name, but the other two are not just yet. Logan Gilbert with the Mariners, Mackenzie Gore with the Nationals, and Zach Wheeler with the Phillies. People know Zach Wheeler, who Zach Wheeler is. The other two, they may or may not know that. Um, all three of these gentlemen have 18 strikeouts already in a very young season. Uh, if you're paying attention, folks, Mackenzie Gore is going to be really, really, really good. Um, you may not hear a lot about him because of where he plays, but he's going to be very, very good. Jackson, tell me I'm wrong.
Uh, I think I said it last week. Centerpiece of the Juan Soto trade to San Diego. That's how good he is. That wasn't a salary dump by Washington. They were getting real prospects back for control of Juan Soto. Mackenzie Gore is going to be an ace. I agree with you.
Yeah, 18 strikeouts. I think the kid's going to end up getting about 170, 180 strikeouts. I don't think he's going to hit 200, but I do think he's going to end up with a significant amount of strikeouts.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how many innings they're willing to let him throw. I so I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting to see how uh, when he was pitching, I was watching him the other night, and he throws hard. He throws very, very hard. Only one of these guys plays for a team that people look and go, maybe, right? And that's Zach Wheeler with Philadelphia. Um, Seattle, I cannot figure out what Seattle's doing. I don't understand. And I'm going to bring up something in an honorable mention that will go to this point, but I can't figure it out, Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. I think Logan Gilbert's probably one of the quiet. Everyone he gets put on these Cy Young lists, and everybody goes, "Why Logan Gilbert?" Well, if you've watched Logan Gilbert pitch, if you've looked at his baseball reference page, you'll see why. His whip is very often below one. Gilbert's a very, very good pitcher. And it kind of stinks that he plays for Seattle, not because it's Seattle, but because the Mariners struggle to do anything with all the talent they have.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but I agree with you. I think Mackenzie Gore's kind of the up and coming guy. Logan Gilbert's the guy that's been there that nobody's heard of. And Zach Wheeler's the guy that's done it. He's the guy I picked to win Cy Young last week. So I think, they're all off the hot starts as much as we expected. And, who doesn't love good pitching?
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. They are very, very good. Uh, yeah, yeah, very. When I was looking up some stats this morning because I knew, recording this, I'd have to bring my A game when I'm talking to this top end stats guy, right? So I thought, okay, I better look this up, and those three stood out to me. Obviously, being a pitcher, I like that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, Jackson, before we get into honorable mentions, we need to remind everybody 27-ounce club is available. If in fact your team is gone, let us know. We'll put you on a waiting list. That wait list will get you into the next club. We actually, uh, I believe, Jackson, if you don't act quick, your team will be gone in the 27-ounce club. So we'll start another club. For those of you that are baseball card collectors or even just baseball card enthusiasts, but you don't want to collect a bunch of guys that aren't your team, you just want to collect your team. Well, this is the easiest way to do it, right?
It's
That
also a
early
good,
access, what's that?
I was gonna say it's also a good way, if you're looking for a specific card to kind of narrow it down to what you're paying for.
Exactly. And
Short of buying a single.
right, right, exactly. It's short of, and this week's box break club, or I mean, this week's break with Heads Up Sports Cards, I'll tell you right now who it is, but we just broke with Box Break Club the Tops 2024 high number, Tops 2024 Heritage high number, which was the product that just got released. That was a lot of fun. And then you've got this week with Mike. Let me this the Tops 2020 update jumbo box. And so it's actually a really, really good product. According to what I've seen, it includes rookies of Jordan Alvarez, Bo Bichette, Randy Rosarina, Trent Grissom. Also, prospect cards. It's got a couple of It's got a guaranteed auto and two guaranteed relics in it. So, this is just an easy way to grab stuff that you enjoy for really low cost, really low cost. And let's be honest, Jackson, people spend more than 27 bucks in 1 week at Starbucks and they don't get anything for it except for a caffeine hangover, right?
It's true.
So I'm trying to avoid the caffeine hangovers for you guys. Anyways, Jackson, what do you got for honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions, honorable/dishonorable mention. Shout out to the Reds starting rotation for carrying the load. The Cincinnati Reds are currently 2-4. They have scored more than 3 runs twice. They lost one of those games. The other one they scored 14 runs in. They've lost 3 straight games
Yeah.
entering Friday, uh, 1-0. And this is kind of a plot twist. Usually it's the other way around for the Reds. They don't hold hold the opposition to few enough runs, uh, and they score a bunch. So a little bit of a rough start for the Reds, but shout out to their starting rotation for hosting a 2.06 ERA and throwing 43 innings already in 6 games. That's very good.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. And the Reds were my sleeper to win that National League Central. A lot of young kids on that team once they start gelling. Um, Gavin Lux going over there, I think, is going to be a thing. And in Reds country, man, we've got a lot of Reds fans, and in Reds country, they're diehards. That part of the heartland of America is like diehard, and I love it. I love to see that.
I
So,
mean, opening day is a national is a city holiday in Cincinnati, Bill. Did you know that? Everyone gets
oh,
work off.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. I
But
had somebody live, and I was surprised at how many people I've interviewed that were down at a downtown area. they may or may not been having adult beverages at like 10 a.m. right
It
before they go into the stadium.
it is baseball heritage and tradition that the Reds get the first home game of every season.
There you go. Just as long as it's tradition, we're not bucking tradition, I'm okay.
No, I love it. I think it's great that the Reds always start at home. I think it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's awesome. Any other honorable mentions that you
I guess I'll stick with the dishonorable mention theme. Jerks and Profar getting suspended for 80 games
have?
after failing a drug test in the offseason. If you want my full thoughts on that, it's in the Chop House Chatter video. If not, I'll sum it up for you guys. Yeah, how do you get suspended on your day off?
How do you get fired on your day off? That's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty
Uh,
much what it boils down to. So,
well, you guys were really banking on him being able to play in the outfield for you. Uh, this is one of those situations that I think does actually hurt you guys a little bit. Uh, I I hope it doesn't distract the clubhouse too much.
uh, you know, I didn't mention it, but I think part of the Braves start was that uh, I was talking to my dad, who has popped up on the show a couple times, Ned. Uh, Braves Talk Radio was talking about how Alex Verdugo has the same agent as Jerks and Profar. So when the Braves signed Alex Verdugo, they may have known what was coming. So the players may have known that there was this sort of impending suspension. But shout out to the MLB for delaying his suspension until after the Padres series so they could market it as Jerks and Profar's return to San Diego. Very cool.
Well, hey, way to hit a home run there, MLB. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no priorities, right?
Yeah. The sucky part about it is you still have him for 3 more seasons. So
Yeah. Well, he can't play in the playoffs this year, so we'll see if he touches the field again this year. I have no idea.
so is that part of the suspension is he can't play in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's a new part of the collective bargaining agreement. If you get popped for PEDs, you can't play in the playoffs. Didn't know that because the guys that usually get popped are in the minor leagues.
Yep. And you guys are paying him 12 mil tickets this season, which you
Well,
only have to pay
so
him half of that now.
yeah, the 80 games are void because of the
Yeah,
CBA. I guess the sucky part is everyone goes with how do you not drug test a guy when you bring him in for a physical? The answer is you can't. The collective bargaining agreement bans that because teams are not allowed to drug test their players. Only the MLB Players Association can
good drug
oversee
test.
those. Yeah, so
Yeah.
because otherwise, you get a guy like remember Chris Davis is 0 for whatever to start the season.
Hmm.
Otherwise, Baltimore would just give him bad drug test. We don't have to pay him anymore. Yeah, no, I see why it works that way, but it also just kind of
Kind of
yeah.
sucks.
So shout out, dishonorable mention, Jerks and Profar. See you next year. Even,
I had that on my list, but if you didn't mention it, I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't want to. I was already talking about the Dodgers being 8-0. I didn't want to say, hey, let me push the gas on Jackson's misery today, and let's
yeah,
just see what I can do. And so,
you
yeah,
know what I texted you the other day. I was not jazzed for this week's weekly.
no, no, you were not. You were not.
So,
It
but
was a
hey,
bad week of baseball for you.
I'm having fun here today. So,
Yeah, yeah. My only honorable mention is I don't, like I said before, I don't quite understand what Seattle's doing up there. And they have a superstar in Julio Rodriguez. Obviously, he needs to have a bounce back season this season. But at what point does he become a problem? At what point does he come to management and say, hey, we're not winning. I'm only getting older here. I would like to be traded. Case in point, and I'm not trying to rip on Angel fans here, but case in point is Mike Trout, right? So Mike Trout was incredibly loyal to the Angels, and there's a very decent chance that Mike Trout will not see the playoffs. Now, Julio is only 24 years old, okay, and so that's not that big of an issue just yet.
I was gonna say, I think you forgot the Angels made the playoffs with Trout one time, and they got swept by the future AL champion Kansas City Royals.
Mhm.
14.
But see, and J Rod has 3, 5. See, 3, 5, 7, 9 more seasons after this in Seattle. And as much as I appreciate that, at what point does he look and say, hmm, maybe this contract wasn't what I needed to do. Fellas, get me out of here. When does he when does he say something? If Seattle misses the playoffs this year and next year and the following year, does he say something or does he just ignore it?
I mean, I think Seattle's trying to do what they did a couple of years ago to sneak into the playoffs. I know they got promptly bounced by the Astros.
Mhm.
The infamous Robbie Ray against Jordan Alvarez. Yeah, we don't need to rewatch. Don't roll the clip. We don't need to watch that one again. But yeah, I agree with
Roll
you.
the clips.
I think Seattle has a very good rotation. I think their bullpen's solid. I think they have a couple intriguing lineup pieces. I think they really cheap out on the
Yeah,
rest of the lineup. You
yeah,
know, this is this. I don't want to like throw shade at Victor Robles or anything because he was like a top prospect. I understand that, but like when you have a guy like Victor Robles, providing the oomph behind Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh, it's kind of sad.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm wondering at what point does he just stand up and say, "Sorry, fellas, I'm out," right? And so
Yeah, we'll see. Seattle's got a nice little window here where their rotations together for I think two more seasons. But once Logan Gilbert gets that free agency, which I think he'll get a lot of money, um, if they can't bring him back, they might be in trouble.
they might be in trouble. They might be in troubles. So, well, yeah, I mean, we'll see how that all plays out. Well, Jackson, we did a good job. We talked about the Braves, the Padres, the Dodgers, Rafi Devers, Aaron Judge. We talked about the A's. We talked about the Central. We talked about Kyle Tucker. We talked about pitching, young
I feel like
contracts, Julio
we
Rodriguez.
we covered most of the league this week.
Yeah, and then
Right.
the Reds and our good friend Juxon Profar, and what he's doing right now. I think I saw him on a beach in the DR someplace just hanging out.
Uh, I hope he's sitting down and thinking about his decisions. That's all I'm going to say. I don't care where.
I don't care where.
I don't care where.
So,
It's just
all right, Top Fan friends, we are so grateful that you have listened on YouTube with us. Go over and check out Bleacher Brothers as well. They post a lot of our stuff up. If you're listening to us on Bleacher Brothers Radio Sports Network, check us out at topfanrivalry.com. If you want to be on this show or any of our shows, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Look forward to having you again, or having you listen to us again. Jackson, appreciate it. And let's do it again next week.
see you next week. And remember, the Braves are still undefeated at home.
They're still undefeated at home. And as we know, the Braves will be at next week. They will be 1-12. It'll be no, I'm just
Well,
uh,
yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, they have 6 games next week, so yeah, checks out.
Dodgers will be 13-0 or whatever it is, 14-0. So
And then they'll
uh,
lose 57 straight, right? No,
ouch, ouch.
uh,
All right, all have a great morning. Hope you enjoy this from Bleacher Brothers Radio Network and the Top Fan Rivalry crew. Have a good one.